If you had $1 billion and you wanted to double it, you would buy the $1 billion of Bitcoin and put out a press release. But if you wanted to make $1 trillion, you would try to buy as much as my company has right now. You go buy $50 billion worth of Bitcoin and just keep buying, and it'll be $1 trillion to you. So you ought to buy as much as you want money, right?
Yeah.
I think that my forecast for Bitcoin is it goes up 29% a year compounded for 21 years, which is going to be 3-4 times better than the next best thing. So yeah, I could tell you, yeah, put 5% of your portfolio in it, but smarter would be to put 150% of your portfolio in it. If you want 10x your money, you buy Bitcoin. If you want 100x your money, you buy Bitcoin with somebody else's money. And if you want 1,000x your money, you use somebody else's money, buy Bitcoin, and you lever it, right? The simplest thing going is borrow money at 3, 4, 5%, invest it at 30 to 60%, keep the difference. My company went from a $600 million enterprise value to $108 billion enterprise value in 4.5 years, and we just did that formula. We're just levering it. So I think as much as you can get is the right answer.
Tell me this, so the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, all of these countries that are rich in commodities, in oil wealth, gas wealth, in Qatar, these are countries that are right now under discussion as preferred partners when it comes to data centers, when it comes to their ability to have that cheaper energy and to fuel sort of the energy that we need for AI. And they're also crypto mining countries as well. What's the opportunity there in your mind?
It's like being the Switzerland of the 21st century. There's trillions of dollars of digital capital right now, but it's going to $200 trillion. So it's going to want to find a home, and so what are you looking for? You're looking for a favorable tax regime, where it will be most favorably taxed. Second, you're looking for favorable regulation. Do they recognize, you know, the primacy of, is Bitcoin a digital commodity? Is it recognized? Mm-hmm. The third thing you're looking for is institutional grade custodians. So is there a bank, right, in Emirates? Is there a bank in Kuwait? Is there a bank in Qatar? Is there a bank in the kingdom that will custody my Bitcoin that I trust, right? That has got a license from the government, that has the support of the government. I think you've got a world full of people. Say you're someone with money in Nigeria or Egypt or Brazil, and you don't trust your own government. You're going to convert your wealth to Bitcoin, and then the issue is what custodian you're going to send it to. You're going to want to send it to and bank with a bank, right, where. So we have yet to see who will emerge as the digital Switzerland.
But you think it could be in the Middle East?
It could.
In the Gulf?
Yeah, it definitely could be.
Yeah.
You know, it would be logical for them to do it.
Yeah.
You know, if you have $100 billion, you can buy $100 billion of oil and bury it in the ground, or you could buy $100 billion of gold, or you could buy $100 billion of Bitcoin. But the $100 billion of Bitcoin is going to move at the speed of light and think at the speed of the most intelligent AI, and it's going to be a global asset, and you're going to be locked into the entire global economy. It's the most interesting, useful thing in the world. Why wouldn't you want to be the center of that economy?
What is the thing that keeps you up at night? What are you most concerned about?
I think about ways to get more Bitcoin. We just announced this morning we bought $1.5 billion last week. You know, and so at this point, our company has acquired $30 billion in the last 5 months or 4 months. So we're buying billions a week as fast as we can. So our corporate mission is we're securitizing the Bitcoin. What we're doing is we're issuing Bitcoin-backed equity, Bitcoin-backed convertible bonds, Bitcoin-backed preferred stocks, and we're bridging the traditional capital markets with the crypto economy. There's just a lot of work to be done there, a lot of investors to speak to, you know, IPOs to be done, securities to be created, etc. So that's my primary focus day and night.
When you think about what happens next, and I'm talking about the long haul in 100 years, in 150 years, when people look back, who do you think will be the most, or seen as the most influential figure or narrative? Is it Jesus Christ or Satoshi?
No, I think Satoshi marks the inflection point or the singularity where economics went from being an art to being a science. What Satoshi gave us was the theory of perfect money. And if you look at all economic writing and all monetary theory and all banking before Satoshi, we were all crippled by an imperfect commodity, gold. It was never perfect. It was always expensive. It was always inflationary. You know, the 49ers crashed the gold market. Julius Caesar crashed the gold market. The Spanish, Armada crashed the gold market. So we've always had that problem, and then currencies have been collapsing 1,000 times. There's 1,000 examples of hyperinflation in history. So it wasn't until Satoshi that you had a perfect theory of money. And then we didn't know it would work, and then over the course of the next decade, Bitcoin spontaneously monetized. And so if you actually have perfect digital money or digital capital, you actually can form a theory of the economy that's scientific, that's based on mathematics and based on engineering principles. And you realize that everything before was just, superstitious garbage. Well, the difference is, here are the similarities. The similarities are, religions or ideologies, and Christianity or Islam, they're both an ideology in search of economic immortality. An ideology in search of spiritual immortality is what I meant to say. Bitcoin is an ideology, but the objective is economic immortality.
Yeah.
So one of them is, how will my spirit go on forever? The other is, how will my economic energy, my money, go on forever? And they are protocols, there is ritual, but there's nothing faith. You don't have to take anything on faith. The truth is, you can see the cryptography, you can see the network running, you can test it, you can try to break it, you can use it. It is more akin to base 10 math, the English language, electricity, fire. It's a technology, the internet, it's a technology protocol. Or I tell you, we figured out how to send, radio waves, and we can speak to each other from thousands of miles away, and you think that's magic. But the point is, you don't have to take it on faith. It is technology. It will change the world. And Bitcoin is a monetary technology. It's an ideology that spawns a protocol that creates an asset that is circulating on a network, and everybody can choose to interact with it, as they wish. But I'll give you this one observation, which is, it's the closest thing to a monetary union. As the rich and the powerful join the union, they get more powerful and they get richer. And so the more people that join the network, the more powerful the network becomes, and the more people in the network become. And you can see how this builds up force, and it's a self-perpetuating viral phenomena. So it's kind of, at this point, I believe, unstoppable. And I would invite people to study it and figure out how they can best benefit from that phenomena.
How do you defend yourself from those who would say that MicroStrategy is a Ponzi scheme?
Well, we're a company that's acquiring an asset in the same way that a real estate development company, a REIT, is acquiring an asset. So we can point to the 500,000 Bitcoin we own. It's verifiable. You can see it. It's about 2.6% of the network, in the same way that a REIT would point to owning 2.6% of Manhattan, right? The asset is there. What we're doing is we're issuing securities to buy more of it. So the REIT issues equity or debt instruments to buy more land. We issue debt instruments or equity to buy more Bitcoin.
Bother you, that narrative?
I think there's a lot of people struggling to figure out what is Bitcoin, and then what is a Bitcoin treasury company, what is a public company that buys it. But I imagine 100 years ago, if you're building a company based on electricity, people would wonder, is it real or not real? I think the internet companies had the same thing. It's like, what's there?
Yeah.
It's an explosive new technology. It's a paradigm shift. Generally with paradigm shifts, it takes an entire generation. The old guard has to die. The youth, the new generation adopts the paradigm. It becomes very natural for them. But it's criticized by the old guard. Like rock and roll was criticized by classical musicians. Electricity was criticized by the people with the steam engines. The automobile industry was criticized by the horse and buggy people. You know, as the aircraft industry was criticized. All of those industries are always criticized. You have to fight through the criticism by being cheerful and constructive and educating the market. And over time, over a 10 to 30 year time frame, what seemed to be scary and dangerous and spooky just becomes normal. You know, in the English language, we have the word shock. It means getting too close to electricity. We have the word burned. It means getting too close to fire. And yet we have the General Electric Corporation in New York City is based on electricity. Turn the electricity off, the city dies. And Henry Ford took the fire, put it into an engine, put it in a car, created the entire automobile industry. So engineers are harnessing something that's explosive, dangerous, incendiary, nitro, crypto. But at the end of the day, if you want your company to live forever, you need to put a crypto engine in it. If you want your car to drive forever, you need to put an atomic motor into it. And of course, there are going to be people that are going to be afraid of both, but it is the future. I'm optimistic over time that people will embrace it because for the most part, people want to keep their money and they want to be rich and they want to be powerful. Why wouldn't you want to be rich and powerful? There are nations that didn't embrace nuclear power. They don't embrace nuclear weapons, but they're not the ones that win the wars.
Do you think that there is, as you say, a misperception of Bitcoin, a misperception of what digital currencies are, that frankly is holding back the industry, is holding back people from coming to a point where they are using them more?
I think the conventional financial establishment doesn't really appreciate the power of digital capital. But it doesn't matter because you don't need to convince everybody, you just need to convince anybody. So no, I wouldn't say it's being held back. It's the fastest growing thing in the world for the past 15 years. Like Bitcoin is up 55% a year for the past 5 years and the S&P is up 10. So if growing 5 times faster than the S&P index is failing, then we just keep failing up, right? I would say it's more like an economic shockwave. It's moving so fast that people can barely get out of the way.